Hello, dear viewers. Support me by subscribing to my channel and share my video if you like it. And also, make sure you comment your thought. Now let's start the video. Bella POV. I rethought my decision over and over again. It had started to become a question in my mind instead of a conclusion. Should I really go back to Forks? There's nothing left there for me. I couldn't see Charlie, although I'm sure he would love to see me. I couldn't visit any of my friends, although I'm sure Angela would love to see Renesmee again. I couldn't decide if she would freak out or just be unfazed by Renesmee's growth. I guess I couldn't really decide how I felt about her growth either. I had started packing up the possessions that we had, which wasn't much. Clothes, some books, and music, and then things that Renesmee needed were about all we really had. Everything else we ever needed we either brought when we had to, or just borrowed from the abandoned houses we lived in. I had been sending emails to Charlie and Renee from libraries, so I didn't need a computer. I called them as well, but emails were easier since I didn't have to worry about unexpected questions or Renesmee saying something to me. Nothing would freak them out more than if Renesmee called me Mama too close to the receiver. She knew not to talk while I was on the phone with them, but she also loved to listen and insisted on being in my lap when we talked so she could hear them. Both Charlie and Renee thought I was in Alaska. Somehow they figured out that I lied to them and that I had basically ran away, as they had put it. I hadn't planned on telling them for a few more months. I figured best case scenario, I would tell them I moved out before they discovered my lie. But that wasn't the case. I told them that I moved to Alaska and was taking virtual online courses to earn my GED, and then I was going to start taking a few classes a semester for college, University of Alaska. I was surprised that neither of them even thought of asking about what I was doing for money. Yet, they certainly had enough other things to grill me about. How could lie to us? Does this have to do with that boy? Where are you living? Are you alone? Who are you with? Can't you come back? Can I come see you? See how you're doing? Are you staying healthy? The questions ranged from my personal safety to my mental well-being to my vacation schedule. There was no way that either of them would actually be able to visit me. Renee would hate the weather in Alaska, and Charlie wouldn't be able to get that much time off. Then there was the added point that I wasn't actually in Alaska. I had stayed there for a few months in a town called Gamble. It was on one of the islands off the coast. We only stayed 3 months because Renesmee grew so quickly, but it was gorgeous. I liked Gamble, and so did Renesmee. Moving from there was the first time I had ever seen her cry. My heart shattered when she cried. Then, and I figured she'd cry today when we left Odessa. She liked Odessa, but was actually more fascinated with the snow and forests surrounding the area than the town itself. Maybe we'll stay for a while longer. Forks will always be there. I had everything packed, but I just wasn't sure what to do next. I stared at the bags, warring with myself, whether to pack up Renesmee's things or to unpack my own. I stood for a long time until I felt a warm little hand on my hip. Why are you up? I thought about the disapproving mother tone I was using and tried to not laugh at myself. Nighttime's over. It's 7. I looked at my watch and it was, holy crow. I've been standing here for hours. What are you doing, Mama? Are we moving again? I reached down and embraced Renesmee into my arms. Yeah, we're moving. I couldn't really deny it. The people were getting suspicious, and I knew she would want the pictures that were in Forks. The whole reason for going to Forks wasn't for me. It was for her, and I'd do anything for her. Why? She looked down, and I saw the tears starting to gather in her eyes. Oh, honey, you know we can't stay too long anywhere. It's time for us to move somewhere new. I promise someday we will stay in a place a lot longer, just not yet. Okay. Are we leaving today? No, we're leaving tonight, so today we can do whatever you want to do. She smiled at me then. It was 7 hours to Forks from Odessa, and it would only take me about 4 in my Audi. I had to leave my truck in Oregon when it finally died on us. About 7 months back. We found a house about 10 miles away in Portland to stay at for a few days, while I looked for another car. I didn't want to use Alice's money, but I didn't really have a choice. I went to 6 different car dealerships and couldn't get over the prices. I started looking into the car ads and found a 203 midnight blue Audi A4 Cabriolet compact that some soccer mom wanted to sell because her son kept getting speeding tickets. Apparently the boy's father brought it for him when they divorced, and now the mother had the pleasure of paying all the additional expenses. She couldn't deal with the insurance, maintenance, and the 42 speeding tickets he had accumulated, so she decided to sell it to teach her son a lesson. I ended up paying her $10,000 cash for the car. She only wanted enough to pay the bills, but I felt bad, so I gave her more. I couldn't believe that both her ex-husband and son were making her deal with this. I hadn't planned on spending that much, but for a fast car, I figured why not. I had grown accustomed to fast things since becoming a vampire. Renesmee decided she wanted to wander through the forest and enjoy the snow with me. I told her we could enjoy the snow where we were going next, but she wouldn't hear of it. The snow is different here, Mama. It's whiter and more fluffy. Okay, honey. I drove up Highway 21 and then turned off onto a maintenance road. I got out at vampire speed since I didn't have to worry about anyone seeing, and grabbed Renesmee from the car. Do you want ride or run? She wasn't as fast as me, but she was still faster than a human. If I slowed a bit, she kept up perfectly. I'll ride. I lifted up and she gripped onto my back. I never could decide if she was just extremely light or if it was the vampire's strength, because I could barely feel back there. I ran for about 10 minutes before I stopped. I asked her if she wanted to keep going, but she said she wanted to explore a little. I watched her as she took bouncing steps through the snow. Her shoes barely made an imprint because she was so quick to move. We ended up in a clearing that we usually visited after hunts or on sunny days when we wanted to stay out of our little house. She didn't sparkle like I did, just glowed. I would imagine if it was dark, she'd make a pretty good nightlight, but in the daytime, it was just faint enough that it looked like she had gotten into some body shimmer. She went to sit in the middle of the clearing in her little jogging suit. If she wasn't a few degrees warmer than humans, I would have protested. But she had never even been sick and never got cold. I had brought a change of clothes anyways, since the jogging suit would end up getting soaked from the snow. Where are we going, Mama? Where we're going is a surprise, but after we go there, we're moving to Bainbridge Island. I had seen it on a map and loved the location, and I couldn't bring myself to leave the state just yet. Where's Bainbridge Island? It's in Washington, too. You'll like it. Why are we leaving at night this time? We always leave early in the morning. The truth was that we were leaving at night because we needed to arrive at night. I didn't want to risk Charlie being on duty driving around or one of my old friends spotting us. Because I'm taking you somewhere special, and it's a surprise. We'll get there in time for you to wake up. You can sleep in the car. We continued to talk for a while. She asked me more about Bainbridge Island, and subtly tried to get hints about the surprise. After a while, she figured out it was a birthday surprise, and got very excited. We stayed in the woods for a while and decided to hunt. She was a fierce little predator taking down a large female deer, while I took down the buck that was there also. I tried to joke with her that I would get her a cake this year for her birthday, and was rewarded with a very loud ew. I had gotten her a cake last year, if only for the occasion and tradition. She had tried it, but the minute the icing touched her tongue, she spit it out. When we got back to the house, I changed her into her pajamas, and started loading the car while she was taking pictures of the house. The only thing I ever for myself with Alice's money, besides my new car, was a camera. I was determined to document Renesmee's life, if only for my benefit, but I knew if I ever met the Cullens again, they'd be curious to see how she was as a baby and a child. Lately, she had been attached to the camera like it was another appendage. She took a picture of me loading the car and then decided we needed a picture of both of us. We set the camera on top of the car and stood in front of the house. With vampire speed, we were waiting with smiles for the auto function to go off. It had only taken 3 hours and 47 minutes for us to reach the Forks. Welcome sign. It was just after midnight, and the town was silent as I passed the few houses near the hidden drive. I opened my window a bit so I could smell. I had no reason to worry, but I also had no desire to risk anything. I couldn't smell anything except trees and dirt and ferns. I took the turns in the drive with a little more force, just to experience it like I used to. Unfortunately, I woke Renesmee up with my sudden turns. Mama? She lifted her head and let out a yawn. Where are we? I didn't say anything. I wasn't quite sure how to explain where we were just yet. As I crossed through the final turn, the large white house came into view. It looked a little worse for wear, but still very majestic. Renesmee gasped when she saw it, and I knew she recognized it. We've been here before. It wasn't a question. But I didn't think she actually knew when we were here last. Yes, baby. We were here for a little while when you were born. I promise you can explore tomorrow, but you need sleep. Come on. I stopped the car, got out, and pulled her into my arms with her blankets all within 5 seconds. But, Mama, I want... No. Sleep. I promise we'll stay a bit, and in the morning you can do whatever you want. I got the spare key from the same inn I'd left it before, and flew up the stairs to Alice's old room. I had placed one of the plastic sheets back over it, so time wouldn't disturb the trimness of her bedspread. I smashed a few of the oversized pillows down and tucked Renesmee in. "Good night, sweet girl. Dream happy dreams for me." She yawned again, and I knew she was losing the fight with herself to stay up. I hummed a bit and watched her eyes close. Her lips opened to form a perfect O, and I left her be. There's more dust. I had walked around the outside of the house 3 times before I brought in our stuff from the car. After I set our things down, I had started walking around. It was the same except for the dust. Renesmee would be horrified. I couldn't help but laugh. I ended up in Carlisle's study. His room seemed to hold a lot of significance for me since I burned here.
You could still faintly smell my human blood.
I spent a few hours there, just looking and seeing. Sometime around 5, I ended up in the living room, removing the plastic sheets so Renesmee could sit when she woke up. I didn't have to wait long. She was up by 6:15. "Mama!" I heard her call from upstairs, but she hadn't moved from the bed. I ran up the stairs, just out of habit to be with her. "Good morning, baby. How'd you sleep?" She scurried into my lap and yawned a good. We sat there for a few minutes while I ran my fingers through her hair. "Mama, why are we here?" "We're here because this used to be your daddy's house, and I thought you'd like to see it now that you can appreciate it. Happy birthday, Renesmee." "But my birthday isn't for a few more days," she giggled, and I knew she wanted to just run around the house and explore, but she wanted to gauge my reaction as well. "Doesn't matter. Guess whose room we're in?" I figured she would guess Edward's, but she did tend to surprise me. She looked around at the colors and pillows and sighed. "I don't know. It's not Daddy's." I nodded my head to encourage her to guess. "Is it Aunt Alice's or Aunt Rosie's?" "It's your Aunt Alice and Uncle Jasper's room, yes. And look over there. See the picture." She was off my lap before I even finished the sentence, and back in my arms with the picture. "It's them, all of them, isn't it?" I nodded again. Her excitement made my heart grow twice its size. "It's you just look different." She pointed to me in the picture, and I explained that that's what I used to look like. "You still look pretty, Mama. Which one's Daddy?" "Guess." I knew she could do it from what I had told her about him. Emmett and Jasper certainly didn't have her hair color. This one, that's Daddy." She pointed to Edward, and I smiled back at her. I pointed and named the rest of the Cullens for her. She stared at the picture for a long time, noting each facial flaw, although they were anything but flawed. She commented on how the couples went together, and that I was right to say Rosie was very pretty, and that Emmett was a little scary looking, but she wasn't scared of him. "I bet he gives good hugs." "Yes, he does." I thought about Emmett hugging me. He always squeezed the breath out of me. But now it wouldn't matter. I'd kill for an Emmett hug. After about an hour of staring at the picture, Renesmee looked up at me. "Can I? Is it okay if I take this?" "Yes, baby. That's why I brought you here. You can have whatever you want." I figured a picture would be best, since you could see them every day then. She squeezed the picture and hugged me tightly. I sighed, knowing that a picture may be the closest she would come to them anytime soon. At least she can see them all happy. Renesmee had spent the day in the house going from room to room. She took all the family pictures she could find and insisted on taking a few of Edward's books and CDs as well. I told her we could stay through her birthday, and then we'd move to Bainbridge Island. She was really excited. That night, I decided to go off while she slept. She was perfectly safe there. I wandered around through the woods till I reached the meadow. It was serene, a little overgrown, but the snow had taken it to a completely different level of beautiful. I thought about going to see Charlie, even if I just was going to see him sleeping. I decided I couldn't. If I saw him, I would want to hug him and apologize and explain, and I couldn't. I thought about going to see Angela. I even came as close to going to her house. Her car was gone, and there were no new cars. She probably moved. College for something. Maybe she got married. I smiled for Angela, but I was heartbroken for myself. I couldn't go to college. Sure, I had enough time to do so. I had forever, but I refused to use Alice's money for myself. And if she was married, I'd never be married. There was no one else for me, and I'd never be with him. He didn't want me. I ran back to the house and laid next to Renesmee. I didn't have the desire to explore without her now. I'd rather watch her see everything for the first time. The next day, I let her explore the meadow and told her stories of my time there. The next day, we celebrated her birthday. We didn't leave the house during the day because I didn't want to risk coming across anyone, but we played games and I read her one of Edward's books. She picked it out, and as I read to her, she sighed and giggled and whispered things that she didn't mean for me. She wanted to meet him so badly and was truly sad he didn't still live here. I read till she fell asleep and then loaded up the car. When she woke up, we left for Bainbridge Island. She cried the whole car ride, and I felt like I wanted to as well. Renesmee POV. I hit play on my iPod and started singing along. Pink. It's my new obsession, Pink. It's not even a question. I started pulling out my clothes from the boxes to hang up in my closet. I had twice the amount of clothes as Mom, and the only reason she had so much was because I was in charge of her wardrobe. She just couldn't admit it to herself. We had moved to Englewood, a small town in Ohio, about a week ago. Mom actually decided to rent a house this time, since we had some money saved up. She'd been working part-time jobs during the summers since I turned 10. She was crazy independent and was determined not to spend any more of Aunt Alice's money. She had even put a lot of the money she had spent back into the cookie jar fund that Alice had left us. Mom had left about an hour ago to explore the town and register us for school. She wanted me to come, but I wanted to decorate, and she had no desire to nest. We had created a pretty believable backstory over the years. It worked a lot better after I stopped aging. Now that we looked the same age, we actually looked like sisters. We had created papers that said we were emancipated because our mother died 2 years ago and our father was in no state to care for us. We used the last name Swan, even though I used the last name Cullen whenever possible. We made up fake names for our parents on the emancipation forms. We couldn't use Charlie or Renee's in case someone tried to contact them. Both of them thought Mom was traveling in Canada as a low-budget reporter for a newspaper that we made up. They were used to not seeing her anymore and didn't put up much of a fight. At least, that's what she told me. Our mother's name on the forms was Karen and our father was Mark. I got to choose the names. They were former neighbors when we lived in Bainbridge Island, when I was 2. They were really nice to me when we passed them on the street, and really liked Mom. They always brought food over because they felt bad for the single mother. We ended up throwing a lot of food away. I looked over my closet. I had color-coded it out of habit. I should do, Mom, she'd have a fit. I laughed as I thought about rearranging her closet. She would only notice if it was color-coded. She wasn't a fashionable person or into clothes, although she didn't dress ugly. Just casual, way too casual. When we were driving to Englewood, I was asking about the potential shopping possibilities. She was smiling to herself as she mumbled Minnie Alice over and over again. Apparently, whenever I would finally meet my Aunt Alice, we would get along great because of my shopping habits. I can't wait. Wicked little girls, kiss the boys, and make 'em cry. I continued to sing along with my iPod while looking around my room. It was girly. It killed Mom how girly I was. I loved clothes and fashion, but I also loved being outdoors and could hold my own whenever some stupid guy would practically stalk me at school. It happened at least once in every town. The first few times, Mom scared them completely shitless. It made me feel so embarrassed to have my mom fight my battles, especially since she was pretending to be my sister. One day, she was too far away when this guy, Matt, tried to flirt with me at my locker. I looked at him twice, making sure he was who I thought he was. He had a girlfriend, actually. He had 2. They just didn't know. I told him I wasn't interested, but he was relentless. Finally, I leaned in and whispered in his ear that I would tear him apart, and not in a good way. He looked up confident and then saw my eyes. He walked away quickly. Apparently, I inherited the vampire stare. Mom didn't worry as much after that, but she also rarely left me alone in public either. I walked over to my nightstand to get a drink. I had started trying human food about 10 years ago, and even though I still didn't care for it, there were a few things I would eat or drink. Sprite, for one, was my favorite beverage ever. I liked it even more than blood. I could drink it forever, and probably never get enough of it. I liked sweet things in general, like cookies and candy. I wasn't fond of spicy or hot foods, so Mexican was completely out. I barely ate meat. It was just a bit of a letdown when there was no blood to accompany it. I ate lots of fruits for the most part. I'm a picky eater. I placed the drink back down and looked at the pictures on my nightstand. There were 3. One was of me and Mom from when we lived in Odessa. I had taken it before we left to visit Forks. I had wanted a picture of us with the house. Mom held me close to her chest and smiled more to me than the camera. I loved that picture. It was sweet. The second was one I got from Aunt Alice's room in Forks. It was of the whole family minus me, since I wasn't around yet. All the couples were standing together. Grandma and Grandpa held each other's shoulders, smiling beautifully. Uncle Emmett had his arms around Aunt Rosie's waist while her head was on his chest. She had a weaker smile than the rest, but still looked happy and content. Aunt Alice was leaning into Uncle Jasper while holding Mom's hand. Dad had his arms around Mom. They both looked so happy. The last picture was one that I hid from Mom till we left Forks. She had said I could take anything I wanted, but I was afraid she might change her mind for some reason. It was a picture I had found in Dad's room. It was of Dad looking at Mom while she slept on his lap. I could tell it was taken on the couch in the Forks house. Mom looked peaceful. Dad looked grateful. When Mom found the picture in one of the boxes, she didn't say much. She looked at me and smiled, but then put it in the box and walked away. I wasn't sure why. I figured she must really miss him. She never mentioned that photo again, and just looked past it whenever she saw it in my room. The spaceman can't get high. I'm coming back to my girl by July. I got lost in the music again, and ended up in the living room of the house. I had to put away all of our books and music. It was a task all in itself. Mom could have done this in no time. She was fast. Vampire fast. I could run swiftly, but I didn't have the ability to move like she did. We had taken a set of shelves from a house we found abandoned in Syracuse. It held all of our CDs and books, even the educational ones. Mom had started homeschooling me when I was 3, since I was so curious. She had me learning everything to the Arizona state standards in education. Everything that seniors in high school knew. I knew by the time I was 7. I picked up quickly and started to stump Mom with my questions. Flashback! When I was 8, she realized that I wasn't aging anymore. She decided we could enroll in high school from that point on, but we needed good backstories and documents, so we never got questioned too much. She had fished out the folder from Aunt Alice and started doing research to be prepared. After she left to go to the library to email Grandma Renee about her grad school experience, I went back to the trunk. I had seen it before, but never looked inside. Mom didn't open it much. I sat next to it and pulled out the keys. Did she have another car? I laughed and pushed them to the side. I pulled out a copy of Romeo and Juliet. I had read it before and liked the story. When I had asked Mom if she read it, she had changed the subject. I opened it, and her name was written inside. She has it, but hasn't read it. Sure, why'd she lie? Couldn't quite place it, but I figured she had a reason. I pulled out a CD next. It wasn't labeled, but for some reason I figured I could listen, at least to part of it, before she caught me snooping. I put it into her old CD player and put on the headphones. It was classical, maybe something originally written, but not endorsed for publication. I continued to listen while I shifted the old clothes in the trunk. I felt a piece of paper under a pair of shorts. It was a letter from Aunt Alice to my mom. Bella, I'm so sorry that my brother can be such an idiot. Scratch that. He's a complete dumbass for leaving you. Believe me when I tell you, he will regret it. In fact, he already does. He just won't admit it yet. I'm not sure if you'll find this note. I'm about 86% positive you will. I know uncertainty is a rarity for me, but I'm having difficulty seeing you now. I have no idea why, and I'm not allowed to talk or think about you right now, so I can't discuss the possible reasons. But I am seeing glimpses. Very confusing for me, mind you. First, I see that we will meet again, but I have no idea when or where. Second, I see that you need my help. Or rather, you need things I can provide. I don't know why you need this stuff, but you know I'd do anything for you. So here's your big box of goodies. I know you'll need money too, so I left some petty cash at the bottom. But in case you get into real trouble, there's a credit card too. I know you will never use it. I don't need my visions to tell me that. But if you ever get into trouble or need me, use it. I'll find you, I promise. And don't worry, he doesn't know any of this. None of them do. I don't know why you'll need this stuff, but I know you'll be okay somehow. I'm sorry I didn't say goodbye. Remember, you are my sister. Alice. By the way, blood's in the fridge. Why you need that, I'll never know. I knew Aunt Alice helped us, and I knew she left the credit card and money for Mom, but Dad left Mom when he had a choice. Why? It was obvious that Aunt Alice didn't like what he did, but he must have had a reason. Mom said he needed to go because Grandpa had to move for work. It didn't make sense, and I knew I couldn't ask Mom about it. If this was true, she probably didn't want to talk about it. I had so many questions and decided they were for Aunt Alice. She wouldn't lie to me. I don't know why I thought that, but I was certain. End flashback. I thought a lot about my dad and family over the years, but above all, I wondered if they'd like me, if they'd accept me, if Dad would be a dad. Mom always said they would love me, but I just wanted to know for sure. I would have sought them out if I could, but I couldn't leave Mom. She was my rock, and I was her. Everything. I've got a funny little feeling. My arms are shaking like a lightning rod. Yeah. I'll cannonball right through the ceiling and sink my teeth in till the feeling's gone. Yeah. I kept thinking about Dad while I cleaned up the empty boxes and took them out to the curb. As I was walking back inside, Mom's Audi pulled up. Hey, honey. Done unpacking? Yup, everything's put away. She walked up and put an arm around my shoulder while I wrapped my earbuds around my iPod and put it into my pocket. So are we registered? I knew we were, but I figured I'd ask anyways. Yes, Renesmee, we're registered, and school starts next Monday. She wasn't a huge fan of school, especially high school, either, but public school was cheap and we couldn't afford college on her unpredictable part-time salary, so we just started over every 3 years and moved to a new town. Did you get our schedules? She always tried to have all my classes with me, but over the years my interests started to sway away from hers, and I wanted to be more independent. Yes, we only have 2 classes together, but we have lunch too. She looked disappointed, probably because she couldn't spend time with me while she was bored. I smiled at her. We'll deal. Wanna hunt? I wasn't really hungry, but I was tired of being in the house, and I wanted some mommy time with her. I knew she would want the same thing. Sure, we can hunt and explore. I'm dying to see the forests around her. I'll bet. We ran into the woods that lined the back of our house and started going at full speed as soon as the trees blended behind us. Alice POV, 2 centimeters higher on the left. Jasper was hanging one of the newest art pieces that Esme had purchased when she and Carlisle went to Berlin this summer. She had gotten it for Rosie's room, but I convinced her to give it over to me. He adjusted the frame in a second and came to stand by me to see his handiwork. Looks good. What do ya think? I love it, thank you. I kissed his cheek and then lingered wrapping my arms around him. We stood for a few minutes before I felt him stiffen. Edward? Edward. Damn it. Alice. I struggled to control my emotions for Jasper, but Edward was wearing on my last nerve. Every time he came in the house, Jasper would feel his despair, guilt, or loneliness, and then I would end up with the same emotions. Whether he meant to or not, he was taking my husband away from me. I'm really getting tired of this. It was an understatement. I was surprised. I hadn't assaulted him yet. Alice, he can't control his emotions anymore. It's not just the guilt over Bella, it's the guilt of what he's doing to everyone else, including you. I breathed deeply, while I glared at Jasper. He wanted me to apologize. I didn't want to apologize. I wanted to continue to yell at him. He was being brainless, and now it didn't even matter. 20 years had gone and passed. It was too late for my vision to come true now. Alice, I know you love Bella, but you also love Edward. I know you want to defend her and punish him for her, but that's not what she would want. And you know that. I do not know that. I was trying to push away the calm, forgiving waves he was sending me. Don't do that. I'm sorry. But you know that Bella would want you to forgive your brother and help him be okay. It's been 20 years. She has to have moved on by now. Let him off the hook. He smiled at me and squeezed my shoulders. I think it will help. Please, for me. I glared at him for several minutes and thought about what he was asking. You're lucky I love you. I didn't attempt to smile, but I knew he felt my acceptance to his plea. I know, I'm lucky. I walked out of mine and Jasper's room and walked downstairs to Edward's. Edward was on the first floor while the rest of us were on the second. It worked out for the best the past few years like this. We decided to continue the pattern in Inglewood for the next few years as well. I knocked on his door. Alice? What? No, come on in, Alice. We're glad to see you, please. Come in and talk with me. I knew he heard my thoughts and mentally apologized. That's what I came to do after all. Can I talk to you, Edward? Why? We hadn't talked in a while, basically because every time he moped, I purposefully brought up Bella. I was making Rosie look like the saint of sisterly love. About you and me being a bit of a bitch. He turned from the window, for the first time looking in my direction. He lifted an eyebrow, but his eyes were still unfocused. Fine about me being a huge bitch. Happy? Not at all. Go ahead. Short, few-word sentences. I was really getting sick of that too. I'm sorry. I'm not saying that I take back anything I ever said or did, but I am sorry that I held out for so long, And I'm sorry you didn't find her. I'm really sorry about that. He looked at me but said nothing. You're my brother, and I'm sorry you're suffering, and I don't mean this to be insensitive, but you looked for her for 14 years, and you never found anything. She had to have moved on by now. That's what you wanted, right? I wasn't trying to be cruel. I felt bad that she probably had a life away from him. A life, probably with a husband and kids, but that was what he wanted for her. I made a mistake. He looked back to the window, and I felt my emotions stray to anger. Good God, Edward, I swear. I felt a wave of calm from Jasper. He was in the living room waiting for me. I'm sorry, I really am, but Edward... I know, Alice, I have to live with it. Just like I have to live with the fact that I killed people, I have to live with both of those regrets for eternity, among many others. He was feeling even sorrier for himself now. Super job, Alice. Fantastic. Edward, what can I do? I was sincere. I really didn't want him to suffer. He deserved to move on as she must have. You can't see her anymore, Alice. I get glimpses, but it's weird. She looks the same. I showed him my latest glimpse of Bella. She was sitting in a room with a shabby couch reading a biology book. She looked bored, practically to tears. It was blurry and short, barely worth mentioning. That's old. Bella wouldn't look like that anymore. I know, but I don't see the past. I don't understand it either, Edward. I just see what I see. She looked beautiful, even more than I remember. Edward, I may hate it, but you did what you thought was best. And it was. You don't believe that. No, I don't. Sorry. It's okay, I don't believe it either. I don't know why I did. I do. You wanted her to have a normal human life. That was dense. Yup, sorry. My sympatric side had been dormant for a long time. I stood there staring out the same window Edward was for a few minutes when Edward finally spoke. I'm sorry, Alice. What? I was confused. I was the one who was apologizing, and I wasn't even doing a good job. I'm sorry I took her away from you two, from everyone. Thank you, Edward. It didn't change anything, but I appreciated it nonetheless. We need you back, Edward. I'll try, Alice. Just give me the night. I'll really try tomorrow. Okay. What else could I say? I couldn't demand he start being the old Edward this very minute. He smirked for 1/10 of a second at my comment and then looked back out the window. Tell Jasper, I'm sorry, and thanks. He knew what made me come to talk to him, but I didn't need Jasper to tell me he didn't care. He wanted to repair what he did. He just didn't know how to without her, without making it right with her first. I walked out of Edward's room, shutting the door, and walked over to Jasper, sitting on the white couch. Maybe we should change our preferences next time. I'm a little tired of white. I sat next to Jasper and put my legs across his lap as I leaned back against the oversized arm of the couch. Thank you, Alice. Did it actually do any good? I couldn't imagine it helping in the least. I had snapped at him. I hadn't taken back anything I said. And I pretty much made him apologize to me. It helped. He still feels all the emotions for Bella, but not for you. Turns out that was a good chunk of it. Jasper smiled as he rubbed up and down my shins. I love you, Alice. I love you too. We sat there for the next few hours while Jasper asked me questions about what I could see about the first day of school. Mainly we talked about our classes and how the students acted towards us. He was nervous every time we started out new, but he wouldn't have any problems with his control here. Are we ready? Rosie called from the front door. She was dressed in tight jeans and a black silk top. I had laid out everyone's clothes for the first day. I couldn't help it. We needed to make good impressions, especially since we were starting after the beginning of the semester. We decided at the last minute to start the school routine. Again, we hadn't done it since Richfort, and after Edward left to search for Bella, we merely finished up high school and then just waited. We waited for him to either bring her back with him or for him to tell us to return to Forks, but he never found her. He searched for 14 years, and after that, we merely settled in the most uninhabited places for him. Most of us traveled as couples, always having at least 2 people there to keep him company. Not that he wanted it. We just didn't want him running off to the Volturi or something like that. I think so, babe. Emmett looked around, seeing everyone but Edward. Well, almost. It was weird to see Emmett down, but without Edward to tease or banter with, he was losing some of his edge. Rosie really wasn't taking that part very well. Edward, please. I just wanted him to try. Edward walked out of his room. He was dressed in what I picked out. He had a few notebooks clutched to his chest and pencils stuck into a side pocket in his dark wash jeans. His hair was unruly, which wasn't unusual since he didn't care much for appearance anymore. although it looked the same when he actually used to tame it. He had his car keys hanging from his index finger and swung them every few seconds. Everyone was gaping at him, trying to lock their jaws so they wouldn't hit the floor. Ready? He wasn't happy, or even Edward happy, but he was putting in the effort. Thanks, Edward. He nodded his head and walked past us all to get into his new silver Volvo C30. It was a slightly different model than the one he had in Forks. Carlisle and Esme got it before we moved, hoping Edward would get out more. He got into the driver's seat and put the key into the ignition. He looked at the steering wheel for a few minutes before looking back at all of us, still trying to regain control of our mouths. Oh, for the love of just get in the damn car before I go back inside. We all ran at vampire speed to the car. We were driving down our driveway within the next 10 seconds. We had a lot of overlapping classes this time around, especially Rosie and Emmett. Every single class they had was together, from auto shop to independent study at the end of the day. We all had gym together during third period. Jasper and I had 4 classes together in total. After fourth period, we all went to lunch and sat at the farthest table away. Just like always, we all had our props in front of us and made a show the first day of actually eating some. Humans tended to lose interest after a few days of staring at us. Guys, I don't mean to be paranoid, but is it just me, or is no one actually paying attention to us? Emmett's tone was concerned as he held Rosie's hand. I looked around discreetly and too quick for anyone to actually notice. They did seem kind of otherwise involved. I think you're right, Em, I told him. It was a bit creepy. There's a first, Jasper muttered under his breath, but Emmett was too concerned to care. Edward, what do you hear? I asked him, although he seemed content to just stare at his pepperoni, poison pizza. They aren't thinking of us. One girl, off in the corner, noted we were beautiful. She suspects we're relatives. Well, yeah, we enrolled as a family. Emmett stated the obvious. The bell rang, and everyone went off in their own direction. Jasper walked me to biology on the way to study hall. 2 feet from the door, I froze. Jasper walked in front of me and pretended to hug me while hiding me during my vision. I saw Edward. He was talking to a girl. Brown hair, long brown hair. They were outside the school. The girl turned to walk away from Edward, and I saw her face. Oh my God. It's Bella. Jasper released his grip and looked at me. What? It's Bella. I jumped into his arms, hugging him for dear life. She's back. Edward POV. I walked to my sophomore English class in a haze. I could hear people's thoughts as I passed, but I didn't pay much attention. They seemed so trivial, and I didn't have my siblings around, so I didn't need to put on the show that I had this morning. Dang, there's more of them, and the guys are just as hot. Wow. Trivial, hormone-raged humans were all the same. They were predictable and even more boring now, with her. I walked up to the door of Mr. Haxiel's English class and looked through the window. The bell had rung, but no one was paying attention, and it seemed that he didn't care much. His thoughts were focused on the concert he was taking, his wife too, that weekend. He has interesting taste in music. Most middle-aged men didn't care for hard death rock concerts. I opened the door and heard the usual drivel that accompanied the first day at any new school for any one of us. Holy man of God. Oh, this class just got so much better. Damn. Why can't I have an open seat next to me? Wow. I pushed my feet forward to teacher's desk and handed him my slip. He read it while looking through his briefcase for a syllabus. Here's a syllabus, and I'll get you an English book tomorrow. You can share with your neighbor for today. Why don't you sit next to... There weren't many open seats. Just one. Renesmee, please, raise your hand. Renesmee, have a seat, Mr. Cullen. I looked at the girl he had called Renesmee, and she looked like she had gone into shock. Her face was stiff, and her mouth was wide open. Her mind was silent for a moment before I heard her start processing her own reaction. Holy crow, that's... No. Thoughts, gotta block my thoughts. How'd she know to block her thoughts? Betty won't stop listening to modern rock, how she hates to be alone. I try to compensate her lack of love with coffee cake, ice cream, and a bottle of $10 wine. She says, hey, I rock the Harry sport. I rock the cowgirl blues. I rock too fast for love. I'm footloose in my Velcro shoes. What's up with Will and Grace? I don't get drum and bass. The future freaks me out. She was singing The Future Freaks Me Out over and over in her mind before she slipped. 5 minutes had passed when she finally looked at me and our eyes met. Crap, she's gonna kill me. The eyes. The future freaks me out. Her eyes, I knew that color better than any other color on the planet. I had only ever seen those eyes in one person, and her father, of course. Those eyes were Bella's. I sniffed the air, but didn't smell anything familiar. But I also did not smell a human sitting next to me. She had similarities to humans, sure, but it wasn't absolute. Who are you? I breathed just low enough for her to hear. I can't tell you. She simply thought her answer and went right back to singing the song in her head. What are you? I hissed, my question this time, and she jumped next to me. I can't tell you. She was hesitant this time. After class, please, she was pleading me to drop it. And I was suddenly aware that we were in class with 19 other students and clueless teacher that was trying to think about Shakespeare's prose instead of the rap songs he had listened to in his car this morning. I watched the clock tick away the seconds while I listened to the same song over and over in this Renesmee's head. I had been called on twice during class. It wasn't difficult to pick out the right answers from Mr. Haskell's head, but I couldn't keep focused much longer. Who is she? Why does she not smell human? Why Bella's eyes? Does she know her? My mind was coming to conclusions that made no sense. I instantly thought they were related, because of the eyes. Even their lips looked similar, but I couldn't be sure anymore. I hadn't seen her in so long. The bell rang and I grabbed Renesmee's hand in case she considered fleeing. I said, I'd tell you. Let's go. I escorted her out of the first building and into the second, looking for somewhere to talk without prying human thoughts or eyes. She quickly grabbed my wrist and took me back outside. She was thinking something about privacy and then ducked into the back door of the cafeteria. The entire room was empty, which made it seem 3 times as large. All the counters were covered with metal windows. There would be no one observing the conversation. Renesmee looked at me, still singing the same song, and smiled. She sat down and leaned her head so that I would sit as well. I wasn't sure what to expect. She seemed calmer now, but still afraid to reveal her thoughts. It's complicated. I shouldn't tell you without talking to her. But she was still carefully masking her thoughts. Who are you? My name is Renesmee. Yes, I know that. I was becoming frustrated with her not revealing her thoughts. And then on top of that, she wanted to tell me things that I already knew. Calm down, she thought, and then opened her mouth to finish her sentence. Since I had interrupted her, my name is Renesmee Swan. At least it is here. She gestured around the room, but I could barely process anything after she uttered her last name. Hello? She waved her hand in front of my face several times as I tried to regain my control over my mouth. You're here. I couldn't form the words. She did move on, just like I wanted her to. Yeah, I'm Bella's daughter, and yours. She smiled again, but this time it was as wide as her face. I stared at her blankly. I had no words for what I was thinking. Hey, Daddy, she thought to me. And all I could think was impossible. That's impossible. I couldn't help but state the obvious. She giggled. Nothing's impossible. Come on, you should know that. I can show you, but you can't freak out. What? How? Look at my hair. It's yours. Can you just trust me and let me show you? She ran her hand through her extremely long hair, showing me her shiny bronze curls. It was a perfect match for my hair color. The curls I assumed were inherited from Charlie were perfect. Okay, I was nervous and had no idea what to expect. That feeling only intensified when she put her hand on my cheek. She kept thinking the word relax over and over in her mind. Once her hand was flush with my cheek, I saw what she wanted me to. I saw her and Bella reading books for school. Sitting in a shabby living room, Bella was talking about their classes and asked how she was enjoying her English class. I laughed when she said it was boring because she didn't have anyone to talk to. Keep watching, Dad, Renesmee whispered as she moved on to another moment from her memories, and I just nodded. She showed me herself as a little girl, maybe 5 or 6 years old, and she was asking Bella about me, her daddy. Bella looked sad, but told her about me and the family. When Bella's eyes changed from talking about Alice, I removed Renesmee's hand. Sorry, she looked down after speaking, and I could tell she was afraid I was mad or was upset because she showed me those images. I placed my index finger under her chin and lifted gently. No, that's not what I meant. That was incredible. I just didn't want to see your mom cry, even though she can't. She nodded, and I could tell she was relieved. I continued on. I just don't understand. Not about your power, although I am curious, Renesmee. But when? How? I couldn't form my questions correctly. I simply had too many. Renesmee smiled at me, and I saw the smile that was absolutely Bella's. A vampire and vampire can't have children, but Mom figures that a vampire man and human woman can. At least it worked for you two. I don't really want to think about it, but yeah. She was pleading in her head for me to ask a different question. My daughter was feeling awkward. I savored in the absurdity of the moment. Your mother's here? Yeah, we've been here for about a month. You do realize what she is now, right? How could I not? She hasn't aged since the last time I saw her, and it's been 20 years. Yes, I know, but what exactly are you, my lovely girl? She smiled at the affection in my voice. I like to think of myself as a half-breed. Mom doesn't like the term. She prefers hybrid, but basically I'm half and half. I have blood in my veins, a heartbeat, and can eat actual food. But I also drink blood and am immortal. You're immortal? I was so relieved. I had missed 20 years. I didn't want to lose her in the next 50. Yep, you can't get rid of me. I'm almost 20 years old a few weeks. Give or take, but I've been this age for about 13 years. The image where I'm asking Mom about you, I was actually 2. I couldn't help but laugh. I had no other reaction. It was glorious and sad and overwhelming and completely ridiculous that she existed, but I couldn't have been more thrilled. You okay, Dad? I'm perfect. And as much as I want you to call me Dad, her whole face lit up. You should probably call me Edward here. I gestured to the room around us, meaning the school, and she nodded, smiling. So, the whole family's here, right, Edward? And Alice and Uncle Emmett and everyone? Yeah, they'll all hear. They are going to be shocked. She bit her lip in a completely Bella way. I suddenly realized 20 minutes had passed, and I was keeping her from her next class. I was also missing mine, but I couldn't seem to care. Your mother would want you in class, I'm sure. Probably, but that's not going to happen. Besides, I got technology, which is a piece of cake, and then world history. I'm willing to ditch. What did you have? I thought for a minute, but couldn't remember. I couldn't remember anything from this morning. I pulled out my schedule, and Renesmee immediately took it from me to study. She laughed a nervous laugh and looked at me. You're going to want to go to class now. She's in your biology class. Your mother. I hadn't asked it as a question. I was certain I knew who she meant, but I couldn't seem to decide which person I'd rather spend time with right now. I only clarified to buy some time. Yeah, she has biology with Mr. Graham too. She looked at me for a long time before speaking again. Go. I'm gonna ditch the rest of the day. I have a feeling it's gonna be interesting. Tell her I'm taking the car. You shouldn't ditch. I found myself easing right into the disapproving father tone. Oh, please, she giggled. Like you don't ditch. Believe me, I know more than the teacher does. I laughed as she hugged me. I've wanted to hug you, Dad, for years. Don't go anywhere, okay? I held her tighter when she said the last part. She had felt abandoned. I didn't need Jasper to tell me that. I promise. She leaned back and then kissed me on the cheek. Get to class. She waved goodbye as she snuck out another door and headed to the parking lot. I walked back into the second building, now understanding why Renesmee pulled me back out to my biology class. With Bella. I could see her through the window, and she looked perfect. She just looked simply striking, and not because she was a vampire. God, I missed her. I stood just out of sight behind the door and tried to listen for her voice. I heard everyone's mental processing, but not hers. Nearly every student was actually focusing on the lesson, but most were also complaining, internally of course, that it was incredibly boring. Now or never, Cullen. I walked into the classroom and heard the thoughts ranging from shock and fascination to sexual frustration. Gotta give it up to the teenage girls. They all had one-track minds. I heard Bella gasp behind me and made the effort to not turn around but to go straight to the teacher instead. He took my slip. Well, Mr. Cullen. Late the first day when you already have missed so much. What an impression. Mr. Graham frowned disapprovingly and I had to bite my lip so I didn't smirk. I would have missed every class if I could have spent more time with my daughter. Go ahead and take a seat in the back. There were 3 seats in the back available and one was directly behind Bella. She stared at me while I walked back to the seat, and she shifted slightly when she realized I hadn't continued on to the other seats. Bella. I breathed it so no one would hear. She let go of a breath that she probably was holding since I first walked into the classroom. I didn't know where to start. Should I admit I knew about Renesmee? That I was sorry that she had to care for her alone? Or should I continue with the speech that I had practiced time and time again when I was searching for her? It was the speech that I hoped would win her back. Not now, Edward. She nearly hissed the comment, and I was taken aback. After class. There was only 15 minutes of class left in the hour since I had been so wrapped up with staring at her through the door. Once the bell rang, I waited for her to move. She sat completely still, as all the students rushed out for their final classes. I gathered my stuff and walked to her desk. Her eyes were closed, and if I hadn't known any better, I would have thought she was sleeping. Bella? Students began coming in for 7th period biology. Miss Swan, Mr. Cullen, please go to your next class. Mr. Graham looked annoyed with me already. He's not going to like me at all. And just like he read my own mind, he thought, God, I already hate that kid. Bella gathered her stuff and placed her books into her bag. She walked out the back door of the building and rounded the corner of the gym. I kept up easily, even though her speed started to appear the closer she got to the gym. We were away from all of the students, standing where some woods bordered the back of Northmont High School. She was wearing clothes very similar to her original style. The only difference was they may have been higher quality. After what felt like hours of silence, Bella took a deep breath and spoke very quietly. What are you doing here? I'm receiving an education. It was sarcastic, but I couldn't understand her question. Well, actually, I couldn't understand why she asked it. I thought there were more pressing matters to discuss. For example, us and our daughter. But still, I remained silent. You don't seem that surprised to see me. It wasn't a question, and I could tell she had a theory. I'm surprised. But a little bird told me to expect it. Alice? She knew it wasn't Alice, I could tell by her tone. No. She stared for a long time, although it was probably only a few seconds. Renesmee. Again, it wasn't a question. She knew the answer. Yes. Why didn't you tell me? Her eyes flashed for a second, and I knew she was trying to control her thoughts. She wasn't sure if I hearing them or not. After a moment, without a reaction from me, she relaxed. She was obviously relieved that she was still immune to my power. You left me, excuse me. If I didn't tell you you're a father, I didn't mean it like that. I dropped my head. This wasn't what I wanted. I wanted to hold her. I wanted to tell her I loved her. And that I was sorry. I can explain. Please do. Her words were polite, but her tone was anything but. I lied. What? I lied to you. I lied when I told you I didn't want you. I lied when I told you I didn't love you. I want you. I love you. I always have. What? Her face was cold, and looked confused. I started stepping closer to her, but she took a few steps back and returned to mine. I lied because I wanted to protect you from my world. She laughed. Why is she laughing? This can't be good. You lied to protect me from your world. You told me you didn't love me, and that you didn't want me because you wanted to protect me from your world. Well, that plan worked out fabulously, Edward. The sarcasm was thick. The lie. No, she held up a hand, and I immediately froze. Don't even say anything right now, she was growling. Bella was growling. I don't care about what you want to say right now. Yes, we have a daughter, but that is all we have together. My heart broke. Be a father to her, and I will deal with it. But beyond that, we're done. We've been done for 20 years. She turned away from me and ran into the woods. I wanted to call after her. I wanted to run after her, but my feet were cemented to the cold ground. Renesmee, POV. I had been home for just over 6 hours now. I was practically bouncing out of the armchair. I had cleaned my room, the living room, the kitchen, Mom's room, and the bathroom. Not that the last one really mattered, he wouldn't be using it. I cleaned everything I could trying to make a good impression. 6:03 p.m. Only 57 minutes. I couldn't think of anything else to get done, so I just sat and waited. 6:05 p.m. Only 55 minutes. Flashback. I got back to school just as Mom was running into the trees. Where is she going? Dad turned around to look at me. I smiled as I got out of Mom's car and walked over to him. Where'd she go? Why'd she leave? I think I startled her. She was surprised to see me, and I think she needs some time to herself. What'd she say? Just that she was surprised. I thought you were ditching. He changed the subject, and although he fully knew I was suspecting something might have happened, he didn't mention it. I got all the way home and decided I didn't want to wait till tomorrow to see you. I was wondering if you wanted to come over for dinner. The minute I said it, I knew how stupid I sounded. He was a vampire, and so was Mom, and I wasn't exactly a normal human being either. We don't eat dinner, we hunt and drink blood. I may be able to eat human food, but that didn't mean that I wanted to all the time. I kept going on and on with my own little tangent when Dad finally stopped me and laughed. I would love to come over and have dinner, Renesmee, but I think we can just visit and talk some more. Okay, thanks. No thanks necessary, I want to spend time with you. I smiled hugely. I knew my cheeks were dimpling, but I didn't care. 7. Sounds good. Want to tell me where you live so I don't have to track you and your mother? I laughed as I held my hand up to his cheek. He barely reacted and simply watched me show him my drive home from school. He laughed again when I retracted my hand. Okay, I'll see you at 7. I said goodbye and kissed him on the cheek. He laughed as he waved to me while I pulled away from the school. End flashback. I heard Mom walking up to the door, muttering to herself, but I couldn't understand her words. Renesmee, she called when she opened the door. I knew that tone. That was the what did you do tone. Crap, what did I do? Besides, meet Dad and invite him over for dinner. Hey Mom, what's up? Did you go hunting? I called to her and she replied with a short yes before entering the living room. I smiled at her, but her glare told me to explain what had happened before she lost her control. I'm guessing you're wondering why Dad knew about me. She nodded. And you're probably wondering why I didn't come to you first. Again, she nodded. Plus, you're probably pretty curious what I told him. I'm just guessing. She nodded, but then she decided to talk as well. I'm very confused, Renesmee. I didn't expect to see your father when he walked into my biology class. He was not surprised, though. What happened? She was calm, but it was that crazy calm mood that she gets in when I have some serious explaining to do. For instance, I got this exact reaction after I snuck out of the house on a sunny day to go to school without her. She wasn't really mad, but was more focused. Focused on why in the world I would do that and how she felt about it. Well, I was in English and he walked in. I panicked when I saw him and he heard my thoughts. I tried to hide them, but he got suspicious. Of course, she wasn't being sarcastic. She actually looked a little frustrated. He tried to ask me questions, but I told him to wait till after class. We went to the lunchroom during 6th period, and I had to tell him, Mom, it's Dad. I had to tell him. I know I should have told you first, but I just wanted him to know who I was. She looked at me for a few minutes. Her mouth was moving, but I wasn't getting anything of consequence with her rapid vampire speech. Finally, she talked normally. I know, honey, I understand. I just really wish I hadn't been surprised. I was really surprised to see him. I know, me too, but isn't it great? He's here. He's back. They're all back. I can't wait to see them all. I can't wait for Dad to come over. I looked at the clock. 6:54 p.m. 6 minutes. What do you mean, come over? She looked like she was trying to stay calm, trying not to overreact. I invited him over for dinner. Tonight? Oh crap. I didn't think she'd mind. What? Renesmee? None of us even eat dinner? Well, I could if I liked it. The mom glare was back. That's not what I mean, Renesmee. Why didn't you ask me? I didn't think you'd mind, and you ran away when I went to ask him, so I just... Wait, Mom, why did you run away from him? I had completely forgotten that I wanted to ask her about that. I always thought she'd be thrilled when we found him. She always told me she loved him. I always thought she'd be so happy. But maybe I misunderstood. Maybe the letter was something I should have asked about. Maybe I didn't know some things. Maybe I didn't have the full story. I was in shock, Renesmee. I didn't know what to say to him. What did he say? Nothing, he said. He caught you off guard and that you needed time. Why do you need time? 20 years is a long time not to see someone. Renesmee? It wasn't an answer, and I knew she was avoiding the question. I didn't want to push, but... Mom, what's... Knock knock. Dad, I'm coming! I ran to the door and opened it to see my dad standing outside, looking kind of nervous. Hi, Dad, I thought as I hugged him. Hi, Renesmee. He relaxed and laughed. Come in, come in. He walked into the foyer and stopped at the entryway to the living room. His eyes met Mom's and he stiffened. But as soon as my thoughts registered it, he relaxed again. Hello, Bella. Hi, Edward. Weird. They were being formal and didn't make any move to get closer. I could see Dad was trying to think fast for something to say, but he was simply stuck. Again, he registered my thoughts, but instead, this time, he looked at me and smiled. Okay, I'm gonna go upstairs and work on my story for creative writing. Why don't you visit with your dad, Renesmee? Just call me if you need something. She started to walk away, but I caught her arm. Wait, Mom, don't you wanna? No, I have to finish that story. It's due tomorrow, and I wasn't in class today to work on it, so I'm gonna get it done now. Just visit with your dad, honey. Unless she had another story due, she was lying. The only story that was assigned in her creative writing class was due next Tuesday, and she was already finished with it. She wrote about a single mother moving all over the country by herself. She wasn't really one to come up with original ideas, but she could embellish like no one else. Mom walked up the stairs at a human pace while I looked back at Dad. Sorry, I didn't know she had a story due. He just nodded, and while I guessed that he was well aware of my confusion, he didn't acknowledge it. Come on, I want to show you my room. I took his hand and dragged him through the kitchen and into my bedroom. Wow, you certainly are girly, Renesmee, I laughed. I had become obsessed with stars over the past few years, and I had stars of every color all over my sheets, comforter, and furniture. The majority of them were of the pink and purple variety. Yeah, a bit. And you like clothes? He said, taking in my overflowing, color-coded closet. Alice is gonna love you. I hope so. Mom makes fun that I'm just a mini Alice. She said that I would be her new favorite shopping buddy whenever we met. I'm guessing she really had to force Mom to go with her. Yes, she wasn't a fan of shopping, but she did love spending time with Alice. He looked past my closet to my nightstand. I haven't seen that picture in so long. Where'd you get it? He lifted up the picture of him with Mom sleeping in his lap. From your room in Forks. We went back for my second birthday, and Mom said I could have anything I wanted. I found that in your room, in one of the drawers. You were in Forks? He looked at me quickly. Yeah, we were only there a few days. Why? I just can't believe you went back there. I wouldn't have thought she'd go back after she left. He put the picture back down on the nightstand and looked at the other two pictures there. I took that one from Aunt Alice's room. I pointed to the family photo, minus me, and he nodded. And that's one of me and Mom at one of the abandoned houses we stayed at in Odessa, when I was about 2. He picked up the photo and lightly brushed my face and Mom's with his finger. Abandoned houses? He kept looking at the picture while he asked. Yeah, Mom didn't want to spend Aunt Alice's money if she could help it, and we always found somewhere where we could stay for a while before we needed to move. Wait, Alice left you money? He looked up suddenly. No, she left Mom money before I was born. She saw that Mom would need it. He put the picture back down and started muttering to himself. I could barely understand a word of it, but I was able to pick up stupid vampire pixie. Dad? What's wrong? Nothing, I just didn't know. I'm wondering how much Alice knew that she didn't tell me. He was mad, or at the very least, very frustrated. It's fine, I'll talk to her later tonight. I'm sure she'll be waiting. Did you tell them you were coming? No, I didn't go home with them, and I left the keys to my car for Alice in her locker. Why didn't you tell them? I was scared that he didn't want me to meet them, that he thought they wouldn't like me. Rinse me, no, silly girl. He placed his hands on my shoulders. Your family is going to love you. Everyone will be excited to meet you, maybe a little confused, but very excited. I'm positive. It's just that I have only known you for all of 7 hours now, and I don't want to share you yet. I've missed 20 years. I've missed you growing up. Whether I knew or not does not make this any less emotionally demanding. As soon as you meet them, you won't want to spend time with me, and I'm afraid I'm going to be selfish tonight. He smiled at me, hoping, I'm sure, that I would understand. I'm good with that. I wanted to cry. My dad wanted to spend time with me. My dad loved me and didn't want to lose any more time with me. I could stand to wait a little bit to meet the rest of my family. They weren't going anywhere, and then I'd just get more introductions after I've had some daddy time with him. Of course I love you, Renesmee, and I absolutely want daddy time with you. He pulled me in for another hug, and I could feel the tears welling up in my eyes. I stood back from him and wiped my eyes hastily. Want to see some pictures? I would love to. We walked back into the living room, and I pointed to the couch for him to sit while I went to get a photo album. I grabbed the blue suede scrapbook and sat next to him. You scrapbook? He questioned, lifting an eyebrow. No, I just like the pretty paper. I stick the photos to it. I laughed. I had no patience for the cropping, embossing, and altogether creativeness of scrapbooking, but I loved the designs that were on the various papers. He laughed and then helped me flip open the cover. You look beautiful, honey. When is this? First day of school. High school. But it was my first day of school, altogether. I couldn't really go when I was aging so quickly. So how old were you? 8. Wow, so you've looked like this since then? He looked genuinely stunned. I had to admit, it was weird. Yeah, actually. Since I was about 7.5, it scared Mom that I was growing so fast. But she tried to not mention it to me. She never admitted how scared she was till I stopped growing. Then she was good. More relaxed. I laughed. She had been more than good. She was freaking overjoyed. She said she was about ready to bite me. But she wasn't sure what it would do to me. Wow. I turned the page. The album wasn't in order at all. I had actually made this album from pictures that I just loved. I had intended it for myself as just a reminder of my favorite photos, but now it was more for Dad and his family so they could know me. I wanted them, desperately, to know me. I also wanted to know them just as much. What about this one? You look about 12? Yeah, I look 12, but I was almost 5. We were in Florida for the summer. We stayed inside a lot, but it rained so much that we got to go out quite a bit. We just couldn't go very far in case the sun decided to show. Mom wanted me to see a beach, so we went at night. It's hard to see, but you can see the waves here. I pointed to that dark picture. The flash didn't light anything, except for me, and I actually looked a little neon because of my skin. You were in Florida? Yeah, we went to Cape Coral and went to Sanibel Island to go to the beach. The sand was so white, I wish I could have seen it during the day. It probably reflected forever. Dad sighed and turned the page again. We looked at all the pictures, and I showed him a few of my memories from different times to fill in the blanks for him. We talked till about 10:30 before I started yawning, very conspicuously. You're tired? I'm keeping you up? No, I just had a long day, meeting you and all. I'm good. I tried to shrug it off, but he seemed to see right through it. Damn, I almost forget that you can read my thoughts. Yeah, he nodded, then pressed on. I should go and let you sleep. I don't want you to go, Dad. I just got you. I'm not going anywhere besides back to my house, but I'll see you tomorrow. I promise. He said it forcefully like he was making a promise to himself, instead of me. Can you stay and talk to me before I fall asleep? I didn't want to lose him yet, and was looking for any reason to keep him with me just a little bit longer. Sure, go get ready and I'll put this back. I ran to my room while he put the photo album away and changed into my flannel star pajamas. They matched my bed sheets perfectly. Ready. He walked into my room and laughed as he pulled the blankets over my arms and sat at the edge of my bed. What's so funny? I just never imagined I would be tucking in my daughter that I had a daughter. I smiled back at him. So what do you want me to talk about? Since you need to sleep, I should probably do all the talking. Why don't you tell me about Mom when she was human? I can't imagine it. How was she different? He sighed and then got comfortable leaning against my headboard. Your mom was just as beautiful as she is now. She had more color in her face and blushed constantly. But she was still the most beautiful person in the world. You really loved her. I have, and will, always love your mother. She is one of the kindest people I know. She was nice to everyone she met, even the people that took an extraordinary amount of patience. She took care of people and expected nothing in return. She didn't care about people's flaws and accepted them for who they were. She used to hate Forks, you know? She thought it was rainy and cold and far too green. But she moved there for her parents and never regretted her decision because it was best for them. She was selfless. He continued to tell me all the qualities about Mom from when she was human. Most things I knew were still true. He told me about the way she looked and her human quirks. Who would have known she was a huge klutz? It made sense, though. She would go out of her way to help people like that, and now I knew why. It didn't take long for me to fall asleep. His voice was so peaceful, I couldn't keep my eyes open. Bella POV. I stayed in my room the entire evening. My story for creative writing was done. It had been done for the last 3 days. I tried to think of another excuse to avoid Edward, but I was drawing a blank with such short notice. Renesmee. From the moment I ran into the woods to get away from him at school, I had been asking myself the same question. Why did I just say that to him? Did I mean it? Absolutely. Did I believe what I said? Hell yeah. Should I have said it? Yeah, there was the problem. I couldn't decide if I should have said what I really felt, especially that harshly and right when I first saw him again. I was pissed. Don't get me wrong, I was beyond pissed. He lied to protect me from his world, and here I was, a vampire with his child, because of him. I didn't regret it. I never ever regretted anything that led to Renesmee. I would do it all over again to get her and be exactly where we are now, but damn. I ran straight through the woods up to Cuyahoga Valley National Park in Cleveland. It would take about an hour and a half to get there, and then the same for when I decided to go back. I didn't care though. I needed to hunt. I needed to let go of some of the rage I was feeling and simply be alone with my thoughts. I had prepared myself to meet him again someday. I was prepared to explain about Renesmee and how I came to be a vampire. I was prepared for seeing him again every day after that. Hell, I had even prepared myself to see him with a wife, a mate. But I was nowhere near prepared for him to tell me he was still in love with me, that he never stopped loving me. I was just not prepared for that. Damn him. The minute he said he still loved me, I was livid. And I wasn't just livid at him. I was livid at myself. Because at that moment, I knew how much I wanted him to be telling me that. I wanted him to love me and want me and say those things to me. It made me so goddamn angry, though. He had no right to leave. And then 20 years later, come back and have me take him back like nothing happened. It was just too easy for him. He got to go off and have a limitless lifetime of good times and then find me eternally 18, and then just decide that we should get back together. It's not like he actually looked for me or came back for me. I knew it was ridiculous. But I didn't care. I was simply furious with him. I took down a hefty buck. I drained in less than a minute. I smashed the carcass into the ground after I finished, and then repeated the process with 2 other adult deer. All of a sudden, I smelled a more delicious scent. Coyote. They were protected here, and I never went after them, but damn, I was tempted. I ended up shattering a large maple tree that I could barely wrap my arms around before I fled home. I aptly named the tree Edward. It was the closest I would get to inflicting physical pain on him. I stewed upstairs in my freshly cleaned room for a long time, listening to Renesmee tell Edward stories about our life over the years. I could tell he was listening to her thoughts, because there were many unasked questions being answered between them. Thank God he can't hear me. Thank God I thought for certain he would be able to decipher my mental silence now that I was a vampire. And I was more than pleasantly surprised when I found him having no reaction to the names I was shouting at him during our brief encounter at school. I wanted to remain a mental mute, especially with him. I heard Renesmee get into bed and Edward telling her stories of me as a human. Seriously, he was telling her how great I was and that I had all these amazing qualities as a human. I had been mean and then avoided him all night, and he was regaling our daughter with how wonderful I was when he met me. Damn him. I walked downstairs and heard Renesmee's heavy breathing. She was fast asleep, but I could still smell Edward's delectable scent strongly coming from her room. When I walked in, I saw Edward standing in the middle of the floor watching her. He must have been leaving and then lost himself in her like I always did. She was so easy to love. It was like you couldn't help it. I had a feeling that even if she wasn't my daughter, I would feel a pull to her, to love her and protect her from anything that would cause her harm. I watched him for a few minutes. He had to know that I was there, but he just didn't want to look away from her. It was hard for me to imagine what this must be like for him. He found out only mere hours ago that he had a 20-year-old daughter with his high school human girlfriend. As mad as I was, I felt sympathy for the loss I'm sure he felt. She hates to be watched while she's sleeping. She claims it creeps her out. Sorry, I just can't believe I haven't known her for 20 years. I just want to know her. I want to know everything about her. He was genuine, and I gave right into it for her. She's a girly girl. She loves fashion. She's totally a mini Alice. But she loves the outdoors and always comes with me to hunt when she knows I'm going, even though she doesn't go as often since she can live off of human food. She just loves to see the nature of it all. He nodded. Her favorite color is russet brown, but she claims it's fuchsia because it's girly and brown isn't. She tended to buy me more brown tops than any other color since she knew I would wear them, but she would always end up borrowing them from me later. Till she was 3, the only human food she would even attempt to eat was bananas. It's still her favorite food. He nodded again, encouraging more information from me, so I continued. She is obsessed with music, and even though she loves all the popular top 40 hits, she actually prefers to discover the music that nobody likes yet. She has quite a variety of taste, ranging from rock to country, classical to alternative. She even likes rap and R&B. She found a CD with your compositions on it, and she listens to one before she goes to bed almost every night. I knew it was the CD that Alice left in the trunk, but I wasn't ready to have that conversation with him. He started to speak, but I pressed on. Since she was 4, she has believed in all things mythical. She claims that if vampires exist, then so do mermaids, ghosts, fairies, and werewolves. He laughed, but I couldn't find it in me to ask why. She reads mysteries and science fiction for fun, although she has read all of the classics because I love them. She claimed they were too old for her, but her favorite book is actually Romeo and Juliet. She declares she finds the classic Shakespeare language interesting, but she once said it's all about the love story, that it reminds her of you and me. I hadn't meant to go that far. I just wanted to tell him things that a parent should know. Things that she wouldn't think to share with him. Things that he would have to learn over time. But the time had already passed. He turned around to speak, but I started first. You should go. I didn't mean it to be mean, and I said it as flatly as I could. I just knew he should. I walked out of Renesmee's room and to the foyer to see him out. As he approached, I opened the door. He stopped, though. Bella, don't. I'm sorry I went off. I know, I was shocked too. But you didn't have any warning like I did. No, I didn't. We stood there for a few minutes. We impersonated statues very well. Bella, I'm sorry. I had no idea the mistake I was making when I left. There's no excuse, but I have to say it. Please don't. I had to make it clear. I had to tell him there was no us. I needed him to know I was glad he was here. But for Renesmee, I am sorry I yelled at you today. I would have used the verb, growled, but okay, he joked. Seriously, he was joking right now. Fine, I'm sorry I growled at you today. But I am glad you're here. Renesmee has been obsessed with meeting you for the last 18 years, and I'm sorry you didn't know about her. I don't know how I could have changed that, or even if I would. But I am sorry, and I'm sorry because I wanted her to myself, and just never felt the desire to change that. It was selfish. She's the most important thing in my world, and she always comes first. That's why I'm glad you're here. Why I'm glad you all are here. For her, I have missed you all too. But Edward, there's no us. It's just too late. Billa, please, I needed him to accept it. Please, be her daddy. She's wanted that for so long. We're her parents, and I want to be your friend. I have missed you, but we're not us anymore. I opened the door further, hoping he would take my subtle hint and go home. I'll see you Wednesday, Edward. Wednesday? Yeah, tomorrow's a sunny day. I don't know about you, but we were planning on ditching tomorrow. I tried to lighten the mood and also hint that I wanted him to leave by opening the door further still. I guess I would have known that if I had talked to Alice. He looked at his phone, and I could see the flashing screen. 82 unread messages. 14 new voicemails. Joy. She must be dying to get a hold of me. I reached to my back pocket and pulled out my wallet. Here, you told Renesmee you wanted time with her before she met your family. I'm sure Alice is going out of her mind with questions. Why don't you show her a photo? I handed him a pretty recent picture of Renesmee. Thank you. You mind if I keep it till I can get a few pictures of my own? His eyes were so dazzling I was having a hard time concentrating. Damn him. Sure, keep it. I got others. He nodded and then looked up at me with a gigantic smile plastered to his face. Why don't you and her come over tomorrow? She can meet everyone and you can see them all again. I'm guessing you didn't see any of your family today. I can come and pick you two up. I didn't miss your family when he spoke it, but I certainly wasn't going to use it. No, I didn't see your family today. I'm sure Renesmee would love to meet them, though. Why don't you come pick her up around 10? She should be up by then. I knew he would pick it up that I wasn't intending to join them, but he didn't mention it. I'm sure he was planning something, but I couldn't seem to care. He said goodnight and headed to his car, but not before managing an admiring glance at my own car. Damn him. Alice POV. I read Edward's note again. I'm sure you saw something. Just let me have some time to deal with it. Don't tell anyone about her. I'll explain what I can when I get home. It's complicated. Edward. Of course. It's complicated. Bella is back. Then she disappears from my visions, like she always does. Then on top of that, I get this damn note with his car keys, and then he disappears shortly after. I'm going out of my mind here. Alice, what's going on? I pocketed the note and looked up from the front steps. I was sitting on to see Jasper leaning in the doorframe. You're tense and frustrated. I'm guessing Edward is lying about something. No, not lying. He's just flat out not telling me anything at all. I looked back to the ground and slumped down in a very human way. Is it about, you know who? I had already explained that we couldn't say anything to the rest of the family yet, per Edward's request, so we weren't mentioning Bella's name anywhere near the property. Yes, I think he's with her, but I can't see, and he's not answering my messages. Just calm down, please. I heard the need in his voice. Between my emotions, the family's confusion, and his own sympathy for me, it was draining him. Okay, it's about time. Just as I tried to relax, I saw Edward driving up the street in my car. He swiped it from the house while I was in my world history class. I nearly screamed his name when I saw it happening. I'll be back, promise, but I want to catch him before he gets too close. I kissed his cheek and ran to meet Edward. Do you not know how to answer a call or text message? He pulled the car over, and I got into my own car to talk to him. Sorry, Alice, I was preoccupied. I'll bet. You saw her. He knew I had, so he didn't even bother to form it as a question. Of course, I saw her. Although, now I can't. As soon as she walked away from you, I lost her. Then I saw her hunting. I was going to go after her, but I didn't recognize the place. We haven't been here long enough to venture far to hunt yet. Then I couldn't see either of you the entire night. What's going on? Wait, you haven't seen me at all tonight? No! That's what I just said. You didn't see Renesmee either. His brow furrowed and he looked confused. Who is Renesmee? What is a Renesmee? He quirked a smile and looked at me. Renesmee is my daughter. Me and Bella's daughter. What? Vampires don't have kids. Vampires can't have kids. And even if they did, you need to have sex to have a kid. And Bella and Edward never... I would have seen, even though I wouldn't have wanted to, still, I would have seen it happen, or at least progress to that. No, it doesn't matter. Even if they did, vampires cannot have children. They just can't. We would have known this. Carlisle would have known. Rosia and Renesmee would have jumped at the chance. Alice. No, it's impossible. Vampires cannot reproduce. It's a physical impossibility. Bella and Edward couldn't have a daughter. I sat there for several minutes, arguing the fact that Edward and Bella couldn't have a child to myself, when Edward finally knocked me out of my reverie. Alice, we have a daughter. I wouldn't have believed it either, but we do. Just trust me on it. She was conceived the typical way, okay? The night before Bella's birthday, I don't know why you didn't see it, but I'm rather glad you didn't. Hopefully Carlisle can figure out how exactly it is possible. But Bella believes that the whole female human fact was the key to that question. But honestly, I haven't had time to consider it. You really have a daughter? He smiled. That smile was the largest one he's produced since we left Forks. Yes. He shifted in his seat to pull out a picture. He handed it to me. She's stunning, isn't she? Oh my. I looked at the girl in the picture. She looked about 17 years old. Her hair was in ringlets, colored bronze just like Edward. Her eyes were the beautiful chocolate brown that we all loved, just like Bella's used to be when she was human. Her lips were full, especially her bottom lip. She looked so much like Bella. If not for the bronze curls, they could have passed for twins. Their size and build were nearly identical. She has your nose. Yeah, I noticed too. I'm not sure that is a good thing though. No, it fits her face perfectly. She's prefect. There is no way she could ever be conceived as anything but. He nodded and smiled a very proud smile. He was truly overjoyed that he was hers. It was obvious. So when do I get to meet her? You're not going to make me wait months like when you first met Bella, are you? He laughed. No, I don't think she would put up with that. She's already so excited to meet all of you, especially you. Me? She's excited to meet me. Yeah, Bella told her about your shopping habits, and she's eager to go with you. She's quite the girly girl. He laughed again. Oh, that will absolutely be happening. Oh, I love her already, and she has good taste in clothes, I said as I handed him back the picture. So, when do we get to meet her? Tomorrow, I'm picking her up, but you can't tell them yet. I want them to see her when they hear about her. She seems almost impossible till you see her yourself. And she can explain herself better than I can. What do you mean? She can explain better. You're hiding something from me. I was already annoyed that I couldn't see her, at the fact that he was keeping things from me, and I may rip his head off. He can spend the next week trying to find it in the woods and then figuring out how to reattach it. Let some things be a surprise, Alice, he said, calmly while looking out the window. Her whole existence is a surprise to me, Edward. He laughed, and I decided to let him reveal his own daughter in his own time frame. He nodded a silent thank you. Okay, so Bella and Renesmee are coming here tomorrow. I suppose I can keep a secret for that long. I bounced in my seat, up until I saw Edward looking down at his lap. What? I don't think Bella's coming. She made it sound like she wasn't. He was frowning. I didn't understand. I saw in my vision that she looked upset, but that was probably just the shock of seeing him again after 20 years. She loves him. Why wouldn't she come, Edward? She's not happy with me. She's really upset with me. She doesn't love me. Of course she does. She's just mad because you behaved like an ass. You left her, pregnant and alone. She's pissed. You can't blame her for that. I won't let you blame her for that. Edward, I scowled at him with disapproval. I don't blame her, Alice, but she made it perfectly clear that she doesn't want me. She just wants me to be there for Renesmee. She said that we could be friends. Edward was morose. Again, as he laughed without humor at the last statement. Damn it, I was just starting to get used to happy Edward. You two cannot be friends. It's impossible. You two are in love. 20 years can't change that. Hell, an eternity can't change that. I don't know. He was sulking. I needed to talk to Bella about this. I saw her pain in my vision, but I also saw the love. She loves him. I know it. A love like theirs doesn't change. It was nearly tangible to Jasper. If anything, her becoming a vampire should have solidified it from every changing or diminishing. What did you say to her? You told her you love her, and that you made a mistake, right? He nodded. And you told her you lied that day. He nodded again. And you told her you came back and searched for her for 14 years, right? He was perfectly still. You told her that, right? He shook his head. Damn it, Edward, you need to tell her. I couldn't, she wouldn't let me.
Oh, shut up. She's Bella. Make her listen.
I watched his face. You know you need to talk. Both of you have things to say. He started the car, and we began driving closer to home. Just promise me that you'll keep it to yourself till tomorrow, Alice. I'll talk to her soon. I promise, but tomorrow I want Renesmee to meet everyone. Tomorrow, it's about her. Fine. I started disguising my thoughts from Edward so I could prepare for my own talk with Bella. I wanna touch you. You wanna touch me too. Every day. But all I have is time. Our love's the perfect crime. I wanna touch you. You wanna touch me too. Every way and when they set me free. Just put your hands on me. Bella POV. I had had time to think about the day's events during the night, while Renesmee slept. She started talking in her sleep at about 4 a.m., though. She was telling Edward about our beach trip in her dream. She was saying how pretty it was and how she wanted the three of us to go someday. Super! I practically had kicked him out, and here she was thinking we're going to be a happy family. I sucked. I knew that Edward and I weren't going to work anything out soon, if ever, but we needed to be friends for her now. I needed to put in an effort to be friends, and I certainly didn't do that yesterday. About 8:30, Renesmee came out to the living room. I had been reading Romero and Juliet, feeling a little guilty still from the night before. Hey, Mom, why didn't you wake me up? She yawned and sank down into the couch next to me, putting her head on my shoulder. I kissed the top of her head. Sunny day. I didn't need to say any more as she looked out the front window. Oh, gotcha! So what are we doing today? Dad promised he would see me today, but since there's no school, she looked to me and I saw the disappointment in her face. Your dad has plans for you today. You need to be ready by 10. He's picking you up. Her face light up. You're gonna meet your family today. She jumped off of the couch and ran to her room to start getting ready. All I heard as she left was, yes. Finally, I walked into Renesmee's room to see her studying herself in the mirror. She held her hair up in a ponytail and smiled. Then she let it down and smiled. She repeated the sequence twice before I piped in. They'll love you no matter what, Renesmee. I know, but this is the first time they'll see me. What if they remember me in an ugly shirt or with bed hair? I laughed. She was such a mini Alice. Wear it down. That's more you anyway, and they will love you. I hugged her shoulders and then spread her hair out. Mom, aren't you going to get ready? It's 9:30. Crap. No, this is about you, your dad, and your family. I'll see them some other time. I couldn't wait to see them, especially Alice and Esme, but I wanted her to have their full undivided attention. She deserved it. Mom, please, I want you there. I need you there. What if I say the wrong thing, or something? She was beginning to get anxious, and I heard her, already fast heartbeat, pick up. Honey, you couldn't say anything wrong to them, and your dad will be there with you. Please, Mama, I need you there, she won then. and she knew it before I even thought of another excuse. An excuse that would fail to accomplish my argument anyway, she smiled. Fine, you win. I'll go get ready. Okay, I'll go pick you out something to wear. Go take a shower. 9:57 a.m. Renesmee, I look fine. I'm not changing. I don't even like the silk top. I was losing my temper with her. Our fight over which top I was going to wear had been going on for the last 7 minutes. But Mom, no. I put my foot down. She had convinced me to go with her. I let her pick out my jeans and shoes, but I was not budging on the top. I was wearing a simple green boat neck top. She had brought it for me, so I knew she approved. She just wanted me to dress up with the blue silk top she had snatched from her own closet. Fine, she stormed out of my room. I heard a car pulling into the driveway. Renesmee ran to her room and then met me at the foot of the stairs before she opened the door. Edward was already waiting. Hey, Dad. She jumped up and hugged him. Hi, Renesmee, honey. He was already acting like a dad. Hi, Bella. His smile shifted a bit, but didn't disappear. Apparently I had made an effect last night because he could barely meet my eyes. Yep, I suck. Hello, Edward. Are you coming with us? He looked hopefully between Renesmee and me. Yes, your daughter can be quite persuasive. I looked at Renesmee, and she simply beamed. I've noticed. Are you two ready? He looked happy, but I still knew I'd heard him yesterday. Yup, we're ready, Dad. Renesmee responded. She grabbed my wrist and pulled me through the doorway. I closed and locked the door, and then looked to the car he had driven over. I thought you had a yellow car last night. I was positive it was yellow. It's not like I had trouble with my eyesight. And I was almost positive it was a Porsche, but I wasn't sure about that fact. That was Alice's car. She had mine, so I borrowed hers. Of course it was a bit flashy for him. I walked around the back of the car. Volvo! Oh, you've got to be kidding me. He had a new car, but it was still a shiny silver Volvo. I froze at the sight of the emblem. Mom, get in. I looked at Renesmee in the front seat. Too much. It was just too much. Actually, I forgot to do something. How about you two go and I'll come by later? Mom, Renesmee said as she got out of the car and walked over to me. She whispered slightly, even though Edward would be able to hear us no matter what. What's the matter? I just forgot. I promised to call Renee this week. She thinks I'm heading towards Montreal this week on a job. I'll call her and then come over. Okay, honey. It was complete bullshit, and I saw Edward's face when I said my mother's name. He was suspicious, but I couldn't be sure if it was due to my lying abilities, or me still being in contact with my mother. Mom, you have to come, please. I can't do this without you. I'll be there, I promise. Don't worry, I'll get her there. I looked up. Oh my God. I ran to her at full speed, nearly knocking both of us to the ground. Alice POV. I wanted to make sure Bella actually came to the house, but I also knew we needed to talk. Or at the very least, I had questions to ask, and she probably needed to talk through some things for her own benefit. As I walked up from the trees, I saw her telling Edward and Renesmee to go ahead without her. My poor niece looked so crushed that she wasn't going with them. In fact, she looked afraid that she wouldn't come at all. I felt so bad. I had to speak up. Don't worry, I'll get her there. Bella's head turned and she flew to me. She hit me with more force than I expected, and we almost fell to the ground. You have no idea how much I missed you, Bella whispered as she held a vice-like grip on me, somewhat resembling a hug. I think I have a fairly good idea. I missed you too. Thank you. I knew she was talking about the letter and all of the trunk's contents. It made so much more sense now. She needed to take care of my niece with all of those things. They were important for their survival. I understood the money, documents, and even the clothes, but I was still guessing about the rest of the contents I had included. I know. I didn't need to say anything more. We were sisters after all. We didn't need to say everything we felt. Get out of my head, Edward. I thought it calmly, but I saw his head snap. I'll bring her soon, but I need to talk to her first. I released Bella, but still hung onto her hand. So, do I get to meet my niece? I smiled at Bella, and she smiled back brightly. Of course! Renesmee! She called her over, and I could tell she was excited. She was wearing an exaggerated smile and was slightly bobbing up and down with excitement. Alice, this is your niece. Renesmee, this is your Aunt Alice. Renesmee squealed and jumped at me. I was more prepared for her than Bella and was easily able to keep us more stable. I hear she calls you a mini-me. I pulled back to smile at her. I believe I owe you a shopping trip. I can't wait, Aunt Alice. I'm so excited. I can't put it into words. She jumped up in the air a few times and then stood next to Bella. Oh, Jasper is going to love her emotional personality. Edward nodded his head, smiling. I'm so glad to finally meet you. I looked at Bella and she frowned slightly. But you need to go and meet everyone else with Edward. They're all making Jasper very anxious. Edward nodded. Renesmee looked at Bella. Don't worry, I'll bring her soon. I just want to talk to her first. She can call Renee first if she wants to. I looked at Edward. I'm not going to think about what I want to talk about till you leave. Stay out of my head. Edward looked at me quickly before speaking. Yeah, let's go, Renesmee. Alice won't be long. She can't stand to miss the fun. I smiled at Edward while locking my arms with Bella. Okay. Renesmee walked to the car and got in. Both Bella and I smiled and waved as they pulled away. While we watched them pull out onto the main street, I asked, so do you want the hard questions or the easy questions first? Bella looked down and pulled me into the house. Don't get me wrong, I'm thrilled to see you, and I'm not mad at all, but I'm more than a little curious. It was an understatement. I wanted to know everything. I had more questions than I could comprehend. Where has she been? How is she a vampire? How do I have a niece? How did she manage alone? How is she so controlled? How long has she been so controlled? How did my gifts play into her survival? What is my niece like? But those questions were ones that everyone would want to know the answers to. I had just 2 questions that I needed to decipher before we went to meet the rest of the family. But if she wants the easy questions, I don't mind humoring her for a bit. Go for the tough questions, Alice. I need to be able to answer them anyways. She smiled at me, but I could tell she was insanely nervous. Thank God. Why didn't you use my damn credit card? I smiled so she knew I wasn't mad, and she let out a breath. I came so close to using it on more than one occasion, but I just never could. I nodded for her to continue. At first, I wanted to use it when I figured out I was pregnant, but I was afraid of everyone's reactions. I knew you'd all try to help me, but I was more afraid that you couldn't. I mean, what if you all came back just to watch me and her die? I couldn't do it. I get that, but you're wrong as hell, you know. We wouldn't have let you 2 die. She nodded. The next time was after Renesmee asked me about Edward for the first time. I wasn't ready to see him, but I thought that if she meant you, then she'd be okay for a while till I was stronger. But I just didn't know how long it would take me to get stronger, and I didn't want to break up your family just so I could keep her a secret from him. She looked down. She was ashamed. I understand, Bella, but you know I would do anything for you. I told you that, and after spending no more than 5 minutes with my niece, I know I would do anything for her, too. And besides, you are family. No matter what happens, you're my sister. She smiled and nodded her head again. Anyways, are you stronger now? She shook her head. See, timing wouldn't have mattered much. She continued on. Most of the time it was like that. She would ask about Edward or some other member of the family, and I would consider contacting you, and then I'd back out because I was scared or selfish or stupid or whatever. Bella, you get the right to be all of those things, especially selfish. You earned that, and I'm not mad at you in the slightest, but you're my sister. I missed you, and I wanted you to contact me. I just wish you had. I'm so sorry, Alice. Her eyes were crying unshed tears, and I knew she was seeing the same emotion in me. Okay, now the really tough question. She took a deep breath and nodded her head for me to continue. Do you still love Edward? Bella stood up. Then she started pacing around her living room at vampire speed. It was surreal to see. I always knew she'd end up this way, even when we left. But I never thought I'd see her use the abilities so absent-mindedly. She finally stopped and looked back to me. He lied, he left, and he just ended up finding me yesterday. It's not like he was actively looking for me, because he realized he made a mistake. He just got lucky and found us, and then decided he wanted me back. Oh, you have no idea, Bella. I knew Edward needed to tell her this. He needed to be the one to tell her that he waited 6 months and completely fell apart. He needed to tell her that he searched for 14 years for her, that he went to every family member she had, some of which she had never met, just hoping she would end up there one day. He searched every state in America and then went to Canada and Mexico, hoping that she would go there. He may not have been searching recently, but I knew it was only a matter of time before he started his search all over again. It wouldn't matter if he found her 80 years old and senile. He still would have loved her. Oh, Bella, you need to talk to Edward. I thought I could get into this, but I don't think I can. I took an exasperated breath and looked at her. Why? I said something. There's something I don't know, isn't there? She glared at me for clarification, and I quickly nodded. I can't, Bella. He needs to be the one to tell you. You see that he will. That he has to be the one. No, I can't see a damn thing. Your beautiful daughter is interfering with my sight for some unknown reason. I looked at her for several minutes before answering. Bella, it's not my place to say. We need to talk about this. But you have to know that piece of information before then. And he has to tell you. She looked frustrated. I could tell she didn't like that I was keeping secrets from her. Come on, let's not leave your daughter alone with my crazy family for too long. Emmett will probably squeeze her too tight and damage her beautiful clothes. Bella glared for another moment and then nodded. Edward POV. It only took about 10 minutes for me to get to my house from Bella's. I drove slower than normal, although it was still well above the speed limit. As we pulled into the driveway, I began hearing my family's thoughts. They had no idea why I wanted them all here waiting for me. And some of them were very curious, while others were just a bit irritated that I was keeping secrets. I heard Rosie the most clearly. She must have been at a window. Finally, who's that with him? I shut out her thoughts quickly. I was eager for them to meet Renesmee, but I was also somewhat anxious for their reaction. I had no doubt that they would love her, but I wasn't so sure how they'd act towards me. I shut off the car and flew to Renesmee's door. When I opened it, she was just sitting there staring out the windshield. She hadn't said much in the car, and any time I heard her thinking, she was worrying about whether Bella was okay or not. Renesmee, we're here. I held out my hand to help her out of the car and to give her a little emotional support. I'm scared, Dad. She didn't look at me or say anything more, but her thoughts were many. What if they don't like me? What if they don't want to know me? I wish Mom was here. I bent down so our eyes were on the same level, now that she was looking at me. Renesmee, they will love you. Trust me. They're curious and anxious, but only because I haven't told them anything. So I'll need to explain, and they'll be shocked. But once that wears off, they probably won't let you leave for days. Trust me, honey, they'll love you. I said it as fiercely as I could. I was certain of the truth in my words. You still didn't tell them anything, but Aunt Alice, she took my hand and I helped her out of the car. Alice kinda got it out of me last night, but no one else knows. I thought it would be easier to believe if they saw you. You're not exactly a common occurrence, Renesmee. I shut her door and held my arm over her shoulders, as she nodded. We walked up the front steps and stopped in front of the door. You ready? They're all in the living room. Rosie told them I was back. She took a deep breath. I'm ready, Dad. Just don't let go. She took my hand in hers and I opened the door. Carlisle and Renesmee were sitting on the sofa while Jasper was in one of the armchairs, farthest from the door. Rosie and Emmett were standing near the staircase. All their thoughts hit me at once. Emmett, what the hell? He brought a human. Oh crap. Rose is gonna freak. Rosie Early, a human. What is he thinking? I'm gonna kill him. Rose took a step forward, but Emmett held her back by her shoulders. Carlisle, oh Edward, what did you do? Renesmee, she's lovely, but she's looked so much like... Renesmee forced a smile, but I could see her looking to Carlisle for his leadership. Jasper, that's not Bella, although she looks similar. Alice said it was Bella. Oh, Rose is pissed. Jasper looked at Rose then, as did everyone. Renesmee tightened her grip on my hand. She was stronger than a human, but it couldn't hurt me. I squeezed her hand back and then stepped forward into the living room. When we were about 5 feet from the sofa, I looked at Renesmee and then back to my family. I'm not sure how to correctly introduce this information, so I'm just going to say this. Please, I looked to Rosie, stay calm. This is Renesmee. She is my daughter. It was silent for nearly 5 minutes, and there were nearly no thoughts to be heard for nearly 2. Slowly, the thoughts became known, some with a vengeance. Emmett. Holy shit, Edward. You've got to be kidding me. When the hell did you lose your virtue? Leave it, Emmett, to get under my skin with this kind of news. Rosierly. Daughter, Edward has a child. I'll kill him. Rosier's mind was so irate, I couldn't pinpoint the exact reason for her anger, but I had a feeling it had to do with the fact that I had the one thing that she had always wanted. Carlisle, the daughter. She looks about 17. This is impossible. I need more information, Edward. He was calm, but still completely shell-shocked. Renesmee, oh my. I don't know how this is possible. I don't understand. How does he have a daughter? How is that possible? Who is the mother? Renesmee's mind was going a million miles a minute, trying to grasp the situation. Yet she seemed to believe the declaration the most. Jasper, wow. I think I understand, but this still doesn't make any sense. Please explain. Edward, their confusion is deafening. I nodded at Jasper and walked closer. I led Renesmee to the second sofa that sat across from Esme and Carlisle. She sat, but still refused to let go of my hand, so I decided to sit as well. I know this is a lot, there's a lot to explain, and a lot of questions being asked, but I don't know how to answer them all in some speech or monologue. This isn't something I expected because I had no idea she existed until yesterday. I looked at Renesmee again, and she seemed to relax. I'd feel better if one of them would talk. Are they okay? Renesmee asked silently, and I nodded to her. Edward, I looked to Carlisle as he spoke. I think I speak for everyone when I say we are simply shocked. I don't believe there is a better word to fit this situation, but I'm sure I'm not the only wondering how. Everyone else seemed to nod, although Rosielli glared at the same time. I don't know all the details of how it's possible, but I do know how it happened. Bella and I were intimate before her birthday, and we conceived Renesmee. I didn't want to have this conversation with my entire family. I had no problem telling Carlisle or even Esme, but I certainly didn't want Emmett to make any comments about it. Unfortunately, I wasn't lucky in that area. So Bella, huh? Wow. Always knew she could take on a monster. He laughed, but quickly silenced himself when Esme shot him a glare. Esme asked the next question, which was already being thought by everyone, except Jasper. Where is Bella? She looked hopeful, but her thoughts were scared. Mom's okay. She's with Aunt Alice at home. She said she'd be here soon. Renesmee responded before I could. Everyone was shocked that she spoke, but instantly felt relieved to know that Bella was well. Everyone continued to stare at Renesmee. Dad, did I do something wrong? I heard her thoughts, followed by Jasper acknowledging that she was getting anxious and scared. I squeezed her hand. No, they're happy that your mom is fine, and they're just a little shocked that you're here. It's fine, she nodded, but still was frightened that she made a bad impression. Esme stood up then. Renesmee, right? Renesmee nodded. I'm sorry we're talking like you're not here. Like Edward said, we are shocked, but I am so glad to meet you. Esme walked closer when Renesmee smiled at her. Edward, is it okay if I go closer? I don't want to frighten her, but I want to hug her. I nodded to Esme, but decided it best to give Renesmee some warning as well. Renesmee, Esme really wants to hug you. She laughed, but then got up to meet Esme halfway. You are so beautiful, dear. I'm so glad you're here. Esme cooed to her while she hugged her lightly. Me too. I've wanted to meet you for a while, Grandma. Esme gasped, which caused Renesmee to lean back. Is that okay? I can call you Esme if you want. That's just what I always called you when Mom and I talked about you. Esme caressed Renesmee's cheek. I would love for you to call me Grandma, Renesmee. They took each other's hands, and Renesmee led her back to the sofa, where I was sitting. She smiled as she sat between her grandmother and me. Well, it seems that we have a lot of questions to cover, and a lot of time to make up for. But maybe we should save the big questions until your mother comes. Carlisle suggested, and I agreed. I didn't want to overwhelm her. That sounds good. I probably don't know everything. Renesmee replied, but mentally she was fearful that she might say something that Bella didn't want to share. Okay, that's settled. Can I assume, though, that you are not a vampire? Not fully. I'm a half-breed, a hybrid. I have a heartbeat and can eat food to live, but I also drink blood, and I'm immortal. Renesmee laughed at her classification. You're immortal? Emmett said while ushering Rosiola to the sofa. He wanted to get closer, as did she. Yeah, I've been this age for about 12 years. It's weird. Renesmee looked down, but Esme lifted her chin up and kissed her cheek. Do you have looked like a high school student since you were 8? Rosia was finding the knowledge baffling, but was at least losing some of her rage towards me. Yeah, I grew really fast, and then I just stopped. Renesmee looked to me, and I nodded. I can show you, but I need to touch your face. And I can only show 1 or 2 of you at a time. 2? I questioned. Yeah, 2 hands. She held up her hands and smiled. Well, I want to see. Renesmee turned and held a hand to Esme's cheek. She began to show her memories of herself looking in a mirror. Here's me after I was born, with Mom. Bella was holding her, smiling, in front of a glass window. The Forks house. Here's me when I was about 3. She showed Esme a vision of her trying on a shirt of Bella's, I assumed. She nearly fit. Here's me when I was 6. She looked about 15, and here's me when I was 10. She was fully grown and looked nearly identical to what she looks like now, except for her hair being slightly longer, maybe 2 inches. Amazing. Esme was completely fascinated. Rousier looked over to Carlisle. Yes, please, Renesmee, I would love to see. She smiled and walked over to the other sofa. She held a hand out to Carlisle. Me too, little girl. Emmett laughed as Renesmee blushed. Oh man, I hope your mom still does that. Lizzie proceeded to show both Carlisle and Emmett the same memories that she showed Esme. Incredible. That is a remarkable gift. Simply amazing. Carlisle smiled during the entire event and was astounded with what he saw. I could hear the questions crossing his mind, only to be followed by more. He was in doctor mode with his curiosity, but was also so enthralled with Renesmee that he was hoping she would call him Grandpa. That is crazy. He turned into a knockout in 8 years. Always the respectful gentleman Emmett. I glared, but Renesmee simply giggled at the comment. Do you want to see Aunt Rosalie? Renesmee was slightly worried, since she hadn't said much. She was afraid that she didn't like her because of the fierce looks she had been shooting my way. Of course, Renesmee. I absolutely want to see. Rosalie smiled at her, and I could hear the fear in her own thoughts. She was fearful that Renesmee wouldn't want to show her. She was afraid that Bella had said awful things about her and that Renesmee would hate her, but she didn't have to worry. I knew Bella would never talk badly about the family. She hadn't even told Renesmee the horrible things that I had done to her. Uncle Jasper? Jasper looked to me, his thoughts clear. I won't hurt her. Even if she smelled like a human, I would never hurt my niece. I promise, Edward. I nodded as he stood to move to the arm of the sofa next to Rosia. Renesmee played the memories for a third time. I don't think there were words for that. Jasper looked to me. She's unbelievable, Edward. You are a beautiful little girl, Renesmee. You still are. Rosia stood up and made a move to hug Renesmee, but stopped short, afraid that Renesmee would not welcome the gesture. But Renesmee just nodded her head and moved her arms around Rosie herself. Thanks. You're more beautiful than the pictures. Mom was right, Renesmee whispered, but we all heard. Rosalie pulled back, but kept her hands on Renesmee's shoulders. About what? She was happy that Renesmee had taken to her, but was still scared that Bella may have held a grudge. That you're pretty, just like your name. Renesmee laughed and then showed her the memory of Bella explaining who Rosie was. I could only assume that she was describing everyone, but she only showed the part about Rosie. Rosalie smiled and relaxed back down into Emmett's waiting arms. Renesmee walked back to the sofa and sat in between Esme and me again, but she jumped up only a second later when Alice and Bella opened the door. Bella, a chorus from the family, greeted her as she walked in. I'm sure that if she could have, she would have blushed. Emmett, damn, no more blushes. At least Renesmee will fill that void. He laughed at his own thoughts. Renesmee walked over to Bella and Alice let go of her hand to go sit on Jasper's lap after she kissed Renesmee's cheek on her way. Bella, it is so good to see you, although I wish we could have been together all this time. You look lovely, and your daughter is precious. Esme hugged Bella tightly. Thank you, Esme. You know I named her after you and my mom. Bella pulled back to look into her eyes. Thank you. Esme couldn't say anything else at the sentiment. She was simply overcome, and so she settled for another fierce hug. Carlisle walked over to them, and Renesmee sat on the arm of the sofa next to me. Bella approached Carlisle and then flew into his waiting arms. She didn't have that reaction to me. Hi, Carlisle. I've missed you. We've missed you, and apparently we've missed a great deal of events as well. He looked to Renesmee and smiled. I know, I can explain. Carlisle cut her off. It's fine. We have questions, of course. But right now, we just want to welcome you back. Thank you. She's perfectly at ease now. She was so anxious before. I thought she might bolt. Jasper commented mentally. Hey, little sis, when'd you stop breathing? Emmett stood up and picked Bella up off the floor in a hug. Now I can squeeze all I want and you won't break. They both laughed. Bella squeezed him as well and giggled when he gasped at her strength. Damn, you're stronger than I thought. She wasn't a match for him, though. Hi, Jasper, Rosier. Jasper waved at Bella and said hello. He was nervous of her response to him if he should approach. Rosalie smiled and considered approaching her, but decided she would save the conversation she wanted to have with her till she didn't have an audience. Sit, please, Bella. Carlisle held a hand out, leading her to the sofa where Renesmee and I sat. Renesmee followed Carlisle back to the sofa, taking his seat while he leaned behind her. I moved to the other end, and Renesmee sat next to me to make room for Bella. I could hear Esme's mind working. The family, who would have guessed? I'm so happy for both of them. She hadn't realized that it wasn't what she thought. We were quiet for several minutes before I heard Renesmee's thoughts. Dad, say something. I'm freaking out here. I placed my hand over Renesmee's and nodded to Carlisle to begin. He had been thinking of questions but was unsure if the time was right. Bella, we're so curious to how Renesmee and you are here. Bella nodded. When did you find out you were pregnant? Bella let out a breath, probably relieved that he didn't ask how she was conceived. Thankfully, I had seemed to take in that bullet for her, with less of a conversation than I had expected. I figured it out almost a week after you all left. I was really sick, but I didn't put it together at first. After I figured it out, it was kind of obvious. I already had a baby bump and everything. So soon? Carlisle wasn't surprised, especially after seeing Renesmee's growth. Yeah, I was only pregnant for about a month. How'd you survive? Esme asked. I had help. Bella paused and looked to Renesmee, who took her hand and squeezed. I left Charlie's house and ended up staying at yours. After a few weeks, I knew I wasn't going to be able to take care of Renesmee afterwards right away, so I called Angela. What? She called Angela. The whole family was shocked and worried that something happened to a human because of us. Because of me. Alice was the one who spoke, though. You called Angela, but you didn't call me. Alice looked hurt, and I knew I had missed something. I'm sorry, Alice. I didn't know what to do. I just knew I needed someone to stay with her while I was transforming. Bella was pleading for Alice to understand. Alice nodded, but I heard her decide to talk to her later about it. You transformed during birth. Everyone was shocked that Rosie had asked, but relieved that the question was out there. Alice left me a key to a filing cabinet. Carlisle gasped, and I instantly knew what she found when she opened it. Venom. There was venom in metal syringes. All of yours. I knew I wouldn't survive, giving birth. My girl here has some sharp teeth. Bella combed her fingers through Renesmee's hair, lovingly. So I decided to use the venom after she was born. I wasn't sure if it was gonna work, but it was the only idea I had. I looked to Carlisle. I was angry because he knew he left them there, but also completely thankful that he had saved her indirectly. I had taken everyone's venom because I wanted to be prepared. I knew Edward didn't want to change you, but I also knew how strongly you felt about it. Bella, I figured that we could use a shot and pain medication if we ever needed to change you. I had everyone's in case one wasn't powerful enough. When we left, I didn't think I'd need them. I'm glad I did. Esme turned and ran her hand over his arm. I'm glad too, Carlisle. I wouldn't have survived without it. Angela wasn't with me 20 minutes, and I went into labor. I passed out, but woke up after Renesmee bit her way through my stomach. Renesmee frowned, and I heard her hoping that the family wouldn't rescind their feelings for her. I had just enough time to inject it. Whose did you use? Emmett asked, and everyone eyed him. They all assumed she used my venom, but Emmett wanted to ask anyways. On the other hand, wasn't so sure. Bella paused and then looked to Alice. I used Alice's. I looked to the floor, hearing everyone's thoughts. Alice. Oh my God. Rosier's, not Edwards. Wow. Carlisle. Interesting. I wouldn't have guessed that. Esme. Uh-oh. Jasper, she's feeling remorse. I would have bet anything that she used Edwards. Emmett. Wow. So did not see that backfiring. Everyone mentally agreed to let that little fact drop upon seeing my reaction, while Bella shifted in her seat. Renesmee was the only one that seemed at ease. What's the big deal? How was your transformation, Bella? I'm sure it was painful, but did it last long? Carlisle asked to avoid the topic of venom. It hurt like hell, but 1,000 times worse. But it didn't take too long. 3 days, give or take a few hours. I thought it would take longer with all of the damage. Bella relaxed during her response and leaned back into the sofa. And you said that she bit her way out of you to be born? Carlisle was curious beyond all measure. He didn't see Renesmee look back to the floor as the comments about her hurting Bella came to the forefront again. I never wanted to hurt Mom. I didn't know what else to do. It was dark, and it hurt. I was so scared when I saw her like that. I saw the memory of when Renesmee saw Bella for the first time. She looked up from the open stomach she was sitting in to see Bella whispering comforting words, but it was obvious that Bella was dying and was in a world of pain. I hugged Renesmee to me with one arm. "It's okay, you're both fine. It's okay, I know you would never hurt her." "Everyone knows that," I whispered in her ear. But I was fully aware that everyone heard the exchange. Bella leaned over to Renesmee's ear, that was now next to my cheek since she had buried her face into my neck. "Baby, it was the only way. You did what you knew to. You couldn't have helped it. I'm fine, and so are you. I would do it all over again, even if I didn't survive. Don't upset yourself, Renesmee." She rubbed her back. "Oh, Renesmee, I'm so sorry. I never intended to assert that you meant your mother harm." "Of course you didn't. We all know that." Carlisle was frantic to apologize. Renesmee lifted her head slightly to look at me. "Dad, I'm sorry I got upset. I think I'm gonna go outside. I'll be around, but I don't want to listen to this, if that's okay." "Of course you can go outside. There are some benches out in the backyard." I didn't want her to be by herself, but she was truly upset, and I needed to hear what Bella went through as well. "Do you want me to come, sweetheart?" Bella looked like she wanted to flee as well. "No, I just don't want to hear about it. I know what I need to know. I'll come back in a bit." Renesmee leaned down to kiss Bella's cheek, and Bella nodded, somewhat defeated. "May I join you, Renesmee?" Rosalie stood up and looked directly at her. "I can hear the story from Emmett anytime. I'd rather make sure you're okay." Rosalie then looked to Bella. Bella nodded in silent approval, but Renesmee didn't see. "Yeah, I'd like that." Renesmee smiled and they walked out the back sliding glass doors.